Hey everybody, it is I, Tony, and welcome back to another episode of TTBurger Game Reviews. And usually after I get done making a multi-part video, I don't go and make another multi-part video right away, but since I've been wanting to review this series for a while, I feel like now's the perfect time to start talking about the games in this series and stuff. Now, those who already know, I love fighting games. They're one of my favorite video game genres of all time. And I pretty much explained many times in past videos what started my love for fighting games and such, so I really don't have to explain again on this story and such, but for today's episode, I will be looking at one of my all-time favorite video game franchises of all time, next to Tekken and stuff, and that is the Soul series. And I have 5 games here to review. Part 1 will be Soul Blade, Part 2 will be Soul Calibur 2, Part 3 will be Soul Calibur 3, Part 4, Soul Calibur 4, and Part 5, Soul Calibur 5. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering, where's Soul Calibur for the Dreamcast? Well, I don't have a Dreamcast, and I don't have a 360 to play the port of it and stuff like that, the arcade port and stuff like that. Well, a port of the Dreamcast version and stuff like that, so I'm going to be skipping it, but because I mean, yeah, I know Soul Calibur was a fantastic fighting game for the Dreamcast, but it's just, I feel like that a lot of people already know about that game because I'm sure a lot of people played it when they first got a Dreamcast and stuff like that. So I'm sorry, but I don't have it, so I can't review it. But now getting that out of the way, let's get things started with talking about Soul Blade on the PlayStation 1, which was released in the arcades first. It was known as Soul Edge in the arcade stuff. That in the home version was known as Soul Edge in Japan, Europe, and stuff. But now that I get that out of the way, let's get started here. Now, I remember like when I was 12 years old and I was on vacation with my family in downtown Illinois, and in this hotel there was a small arcade that had games like Speed Racer, Radical Bikers, the Guns N' Roses pinball machine, which was out of order, so I couldn't play that. And we also had Soul Edge, which was on the far left, and I did not know anything about the game at the time. I just happened to glance over and watch a couple people play the game, and I was wondering who made this game. And when I saw that it was made by Namco, I had to play it after those people were done playing it, because me being a fan of Namco with games like Ridge Racer, Tekken, and Time Crisis, and such, I knew I was going to enjoy this game. Especially me being a fan of fighting games and such. In the end, I played it, and the end result for me was a fantastic fighting game that became very close to being as perfect as Tekken 3, but there were a couple small problems that I had with it that I feel like need to be addressed that do prevent it from being a perfect game, but the game is fantastic in the end. Now, getting things started here, we'll talk about the story. And the story here is pretty simple. It basically talks about these 9 warriors who are trying to find the evil sword known as Soul Edge. Some are seeking it to destroy its evil power, while others are seeking it to become all invincible and all powerful, while others want to find it for money and stuff, to sell it for money and such, because apparently it went for a very high price at auction sites and stuff, and they know they'll get a nice load of cash from it and stuff. It's a simple story for a simple fighting game, and for the most part, it works really well and stuff. And now we get that out of the way. Let's get started here by saying that there are. Now, when you start the game here, we have a total of 10 fighters to choose from. 5 of them which are unlockable. But if you want more information on how to unlock them, you got sites like Game Pass to show you how to unlock them, because since this is a review, I'm not going to waste time talking about this and stuff. In this review, I will be playing as my 2 favorite characters, Sophia Alexandra, the Greek goddess, and Voldo, the Italian merchant and stuff, who's under the command of Versi to try and find Soul Edge and stuff, and Sophia is seeking Soul Edge to destroy it and stuff. But now we got that. Let's get into the nitty gritty here and talk about the presentation. Now for the game's graphics here, the game's graphics look awesome for a PS1 game. The character models look really detailed and animate really well, and the backgrounds are really detailed as well. And there's like some nice lighting effects, and they have the day to night transition stuff, which is probably one of the first fighting games I played to have this feature and stuff. I mean nowadays it's nothing special, but back then in 1996 this was a big thing for us gamers and stuff. and the game is very close to the arcade version, but there are a couple slowdowns that are noticeable here and there, but it's not that many of them, but still they are noticeable and stuff. And the frame rate for the most part is a little bit slower, but it's a port, so the graphics for the most part get the job done really well. For sound, the sound is fantastic. Probably my favorite part of Soul Blade or Sword, whatever you want to call it, because like it doesn't matter to me. I'll call it either or. But the music is probably my favorite part of the sound. You have 3 soundtracks in the game. You have the original arcade version, which is obviously used in the arcade version, obviously. You have the arranged soundtrack, which is basically remix tracks of the songs from the arcade version. And then you have the Con Super Session, which is exclusive to the PlayStation version here. And I'm using the Con Super Session because it's my favorite soundtrack, and all the songs in this soundtrack sound fantastic. Hell, they still measure up to me as one of the best soundtracks ever in a video game, the Con Super Session, I mean. The voice acting for the most part is really good, but I have a couple complaints with it. Most of the voice acting is in Japanese, and the Japanese voice actors do a great job. But some of the voice actors in the North American version, from what I can see, are in English. And I don't understand why certain characters are in English, have been changed to English while others stay in Japanese. I don't understand why they did that, but the English voice actors don't sound really good. Especially Sophia's voice actress, Lynn Harris. I mean, we all know that she was never that good of a voice actress in Resident Evil, because she voiced Rebecca Chambers and stuff like that. And here, she's a little better, but still very hammy and stuff. But then again, there was a lot of hammy voice acting in video games from the 90s anyway, so I guess it's what you expect and stuff. But now let's talk about the gameplay, and the gameplay is fantastic. Now, like I said, this game was almost as perfect as Tekken 3, but like I said, there were a couple problems with it that I need to talk about, and I'll talk about the gameplay right now. And what we get here, it's basically a fighting game with weapons, basically Tekken with weapons and stuff. Now, a lot of people think that this was the very first fighting game that had weapons and such, which wasn't the case at all, because we had the Battle Arena Toshinden series, but this was the very first successful fighting game with weapons. The controls are really smooth, and you should have no problem picking this game up and stuff if you're a veteran of fighting games, or you're just starting out with them and stuff. You have a lot of special moves here, obviously. Like of course you have the throw attacks and stuff, but you also have the critical edge and the unblockable moves. And the critical edge and the unblockable moves are my favorite part of the gameplay. I mean, I know a lot of games have done this, like Tekken and stuff, but I feel like Soul Blade or Soul Edge or whatever you want to call it did these the best. And there's pretty much nothing else to say about these because they look awesome when you see them, and they're awesome when you can master them and nail them off and stuff. And when you're trying to master these moves, it's awesome. And aside from the modes like Arcade versus Team Battle, Time Attack and stuff, we also have one exclusive mode to the PS1 version, that is the Edge Master mode. And the Edge Master mode basically serves as the game's story. The story is told through book pages, and it talks about whatever the character you chose and stuff like that, and such, and that's basically what the story's like and such. And in Edge Master mode, you run around a map fighting opponents and stuff like that, and some of them you must defeat them by doing a throw attack, critical edge move, or unblockable, or striking them while in the midair, or surviving their attack before the time runs out, or so on and so on. And my favorite stage in the Edge Master mode is the Coliseum, where you fight multiple characters at once. And me liking what the Roman Coliseum look, this is a really cool feature to have here, that you can fight in the Coliseum. And it's really cool. There's not enough else to say about it. And now, while I said the gameplay is fantastic, now I should probably talk about the problems I have with it. And that is the difficulty can be pretty unbalanced at times. I mean, I know fighting games get tougher as time goes on and stuff like that, like when you're fighting if we're in the later stage and stuff, but here, like, the difficulty can be really unbalanced, especially like the second to last boss, Cervantes de Leon, who can pretty much whoop your ass and stuff. I mean, he was like this too in the arcade version, so I guess I can see that they wanted to like have him be challenging, but sometimes the difficulty can be a little bit too high. But that's just me though. I mean, like, no offense to people who like challenging. I like challenging the game, but this is a little too much. And aside from that though, that's pretty much all I gotta say. This game is a fantastic fighting game, and like I recommend you all to pick it up. I mean, my final rating goes like this. Soul Blade is definitely one of those gems for the PlayStation that you will want to have in your collection. And especially when it comes to fighting game fans and just PlayStation fans in general. I mean, there aren't enough words to describe how much fun this game is, so definitely pick this up if you can. I will not be giving this game a perfect 10 because of the problems I mentioned, but I'll still be giving it a pretty high rating, a rating of a 9.5 out of 10. It's the perfect score in my opinion. Now stay tuned for part 2 where we'll be looking at Soul Calibur 2, the very first game in the Soul series to be released on the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. And no matter which version you got, had one different thing about them, and you'll find out about that in part 2. Peace out everybody, and have a great day.